know about you, but when it comes to found footage, yeah, I got a problem. Good evening. Tonight, I would like to have a quick little discussion about one of my favorite subgenres in the horror pantheon, found footage. Now, before we get started, it's good to remember that this is one of the most divisive topics when it comes to horror fiends and fanatics out there. It seems you either love found footage or you just plain hate found footage. You don't find a lot of folks that are just kind of right there in the middle, and just remember that's totally cool. We're just having a conversation. Personally, as someone who always wanted to make my own homemade horror films, I love the authenticity of a good found footage film. I love a good story. I love a found camera. I love to document something that went way wrong. Now, there's a ton of really solid, amazing found footage films of the past 40 years, and for a fantastic retelling of the history of found footage, I cannot help but put my stamp of approval 110%, absolutely, as I'm known for saying, absolutely want to recommend this film right here, The Found Footage Phenomenon. This is a documentary from Shudder that was released by Vinegar Syndrome with the slip. However you're doing out there, however you found me, I hope that for just a minute we can take the edge off. Thanks for being here. And before we get started, I want to take 30 seconds of your time to talk about themovieroom.com, my new partnership. Go to themovieroom.com, pick up all your favorite horror, 4K, Blu-rays, whatever you need for your collection. Go to that promo code, type in Beyond10 at checkout to save 10% off. Themovieroom.com, excellent packing, tons of cellophane, tons of bubble wrap, 2 or 3 days shipping on the West Coast. I'm telling you right now, this is the site you need to be ordering your films at. Beyond10 at checkout. Check them out today. With the found footage phenomenon, this documentary comes right out the gate firing on every cylinder, exposing you to a ton of history and giving you one hell of a horror lesson through interviews and clips. The found footage genre really came about because horror as a whole had become a little bit stale and needed a shot in the arm. Really, found footage is kind of playing off of that limbic system, right? That fight or flight feeling in your brain where it feels like you were actually witnessing or finding a supernatural event on film, right? Found footage. Pretty cool. It creates a fake story, a myth, or a legend that is easily believed to have happened. Now, if you don't drink the Kool-Aid or if you don't take the ride, found footage is just really not going to be for you. Unless you're into trolls, and then I suggest Troll Hunter. But anyway, if you're into ghosts, if you're into demonic possession, if you're into Bigfoot, if you're into cryptozoology, if you're into anything, if you're into serial killers, right, any true crime, found footage can really kind of give you a way to find a new lens to really like see it through, which is something that I really like. To achieve this, they often ask a couple of questions. Why would someone pull a camera out? Why are they still filming? And overall, what is this obsession that the crew has to go to the ends of the earth to document this supernatural event or something that's happening in front of them that they just cannot drop? They just cannot let it go, right? Some rules do exist and usually in play. The first one, you're making a film that's believable with money, right? The budget that's involved, the situations, low-key actors, people you don't often see, and a really unique idea or story. A lot of times you have this character connection with found footage because the footage is typically presented as if it were recorded by the characters themselves. Viewers often develop a stronger emotional connection because of this. This personal perspective, it makes them feel the character's experiences as like they're documenting it themselves. It's something that I really love about found footage. Ultimately, you get their fears and their fates, and it becomes a little more impactful when you're watching it through the creator's lens themselves. Something like Host, right, that came about during the pandemic, took 60 minutes or whatever the length of a Zoom call was, 59 minutes and 59 seconds, and it made a found footage screen through that Zoom meeting, right? A demonic possession came about. Crazy cool idea that not a lot of people had done. This documentary does a killer job not only going through the history of found footage, but even going all the way back to radio broadcasts when people heard War of the Worlds for the first time, and because their neighbor heard it and everyone at the grocery store or whatever was hearing War of the Worlds on the radio, it became almost like a true event. The history of it was remembered differently, and that was pretty interesting to learn all the way up until Cannibal Holocaust, the granddaddy of them all. Love it or hate it, Cannibal Holocaust came from an original idea, right? The director was sick of watching these Mondo Cane videos and the soldiers going in on network live TV and doing whatever they wanted, where his films were being cut and, edited and given this mature rating, and he was pretty over that heavily censored tag. So his idea was to send out a group of soldiers to find these new scoops, right? He created these ungodly situations where these scenarios, the soldiers are being punished because of what they could not find. Cannibal Holocaust was sold as real and believed as well. It helped use the, real animal death, I guess, to set the tone for the fake atrocities that would come later on in the found footage genre. Sprinkling in the purchased real life execution. Say what you will about that film, I can tell you one thing, it sure was effective on my 10-year-old brain. Other things that make found footage effective for me is the realism, man. That raw, unpolished, unfinished footage, it creates this sense of, I don't know, it feels like I'm experiencing it firsthand because it just feels unfinished. It feels like I'm following a story, I'm following a lead, right? It's kind of like the new true crime obsession that everybody has. There's the suspense, there's tension, there's the often like that shaky camera visual, right? It has this feeling of instability, this unpredictability, if you will. It heightens the suspense. It makes the tension and the dread more palpable because you're experiencing it and you don't know what's going to happen. You're just bought in. You're taking the ride. You're totally engaged because that format, you're piecing a story together that you don't have the end. You're just like, oh, something bad happened. I gotta solve the puzzle, right? And because of that shaky cam, the way it looks, it feels more realistic. For me personally, I don't need a lot of special effects in my found footage. In fact, I kind of hate it. I'm down on special effects and found footage. I just want a ghost story, man. I just want a demonic possession. I want to see Bigfoot. I want to just go through the ride. That's what I want. That's all I really need, man. I want that character connection because I don't know who these actors are. I've never met them. I'm not used to seeing them in big budgets, so I don't want someone that I'm used to. I want like, oh my God, this looks like my neighbor down the street and he's just kind of taking the ride. I love that about found footage, man. And this film, I'm going to do a part 2 where we talk about the films that it covers, but just a few, right? It goes into like Ghost Watch, Man Bites Dog, The Last Broadcast, Wreck, Jerusalem, Blair Witch, of course, Troll Hunter, Creep, Afflicted, Charman, Borderlands, Host, Paranormal Activity, Hate Crime, Found Footage, Megan is Missing, the Poughkeepsie tapes. On and on, August Underground, right? Just on and on, clip after clip after clip. If you haven't seen this documentary, what the hell are you doing? Pick this up today.